No matter how lonely you feel at times, we all have to remind ourselves that there's at least one person out there who might understand you. I've never gone public with my ADHD diagnosis until now. When I was rabbit holing on YouTube, what does ADHD do? And like once you hit with the diagnosis,
I was diagnosed myself in 2020, gave a lot of answers for me, having start working with my ADHD as opposed to against it. Through watching a program on TV where there was a young lad on there with ADHD and he was describing how it shows up for him. I bet you this is it. Because I was that hyperactive kid who was an absolute nightmare. It's just being open with my children and letting them know if I have spoken out of turn or reacted to something, letting them know that I'm sorry. There's a big change in me since my diagnosis, because I'm not the person I was before. What I realised with my ADHD diagnosis is ADHD and alcohol aren't a good combination.
If you already are struggling with impulse control, alcohol is puts fuel on it. We talk about this at times, not every night. They tell me, Daddy, you have changed a lot. We love the way you are now. Please stay the way you are now.
My personal advice would be not to set yourself a limit, as in, I'm never going to drink again. I woke up feeling absolutely horrendous. I said, I'm going to do dry January. I didn't say to myself, I'm never drinking again. I said, I'm going to do dry January. 3 months, 90 days. Did March. I felt so good. I'd lost a lot of weight. And then from there, I was like, right, I've just done 3 months.
Neal, welcome to Dadsense. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, so it's nice to see you, and I really appreciate the invite.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've been looking forward to chatting with you for a long time. I can pretty much, recollect now that we connected for the first time around this time last year. And I know as soon as we connected, we found so many common experiences that it's one of those rare occasions where you meet somebody randomly, and of course this was virtual, and then you realize that holy cow, there's someone on the other side of the world who's gone through a lot of the similar experiences that you've gone through, and it was just instant connection. So, and knowing what I've been doing on this podcast, I pretty much instinctively knew that I was going to want to interview you at some point. Of course, it took a year, but that's how life is. But I'm so glad, I'm so glad we are talking today.
No, likewise, and you're right. I completely resonate, and it's fascinating, isn't it? When you kind of, you've got to forgive me. I can't remember how we kind of got connected, but I think it was from that initial conversation.
I'll tell you the story, but yeah, you finish your thoughts.
Yeah, that initial conversation, you kind of come away, and it's quite endearing, isn't it? How you can connect with someone who's going through, had similar experiences with certain stages of life.
Yeah.
And I think for me personally, it's nice being able to speak to someone and people like yourself who kind of get it. And that for me is just makes you feel understood, and that you're not having to explain certain things and challenges and certain, parts of what we've kind of going through. And I guess it's life, isn't it? It's life ain't easy.
Absolutely. No, spot on, Neal. And I think that's a great reminder to me, myself as well, and to everyone else, that no matter how lonely you feel at times, we all have to remind ourselves that there's at least one person out there who might understand you, and you just have to stay open to seek help and to find help, right? I know I was kind of at a pretty low end of my trajectory of my life last year when I chanced into meeting you. I had left my job. I was kind of going through my own soul searching at the time. I had this like vast swath of sort of empty time, around me, ahead of me. I was doing research. I remember I was diagnosed with ADHD, just kind of fresh off my diagnosis. And as we all are doing these days, we're rabbit holing on YouTube on, what's out there. How do I get to know more? As soon as this diagnosis happened, in fact, I've never gone public with my ADHD diagnosis until now. I'm doing it right now, actually. I know you and I have talked about it. I've talked to friends about it, and very select friends. And but it's only natural that I share the context, because that's without that, this conversation will not be authentic. And I was rabbit holing on YouTube on, what does ADHD do, and like once you hit with the diagnosis and you don't know enough, you will never know enough, but you don't even know the basics of what it means, right? And grabbing, wrapping your head around it. And I stumbled into one of your interviews on another topic, which we'll talk about today as well, which is sobriety and alcohol free. And then these two topics were intersecting in one of your interviews, and instantly I thought, is that if there is any way to reach out to this person, you know and the beauty of today's world, the connected world, is that I could instantly reach out to you on LinkedIn. And thanks to your noticing my reach out and responding, and we connected. But that was the beginning of
Yeah,
the context of our
yeah, I remember.
conversation.
Now you mention it.
Yeah, yeah. So let's, for our viewers or listeners, let's just sort of get to know you a little bit. I know you wear many hats. You live in the UK. You are a business professional. You are the chair of the ADHD UK. You're a certified coach. And more importantly, you are a father. You're a dad, which, is the big common thread we have, and which is what this show is all about. So my question is, if someone asks you, hey, Neal, what do you do? How do you introduce yourself?
Oh, there's a good question. Yeah, no, there's a very good question. So yeah, no, appreciate the intro there. So I'm 46, 47 this year. I'm a dad of two gorgeous boys. Obviously, I'm incredibly biased, but they're 18 and 16 respectively. My background is in kind of business development. So in the last 12, 13 years has been into executive search recruitment, and then due to challenges in the market over in the UK in the public sector, because that's the area I worked in, public sector. I've had some challenging 12 months, and lost my job and been made redundant, and had to kind of look at what else is out there. So I've kind of pivoted into health tech.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm working for a management consultancy firm who work within the NHS doing digital transformation. Again, from a business development perspective, my main passion is ADHD.
Yep.
So I was diagnosed myself in 2020. Gave a lot of answers for me, having been someone who, I don't like to use the word suffered.
Yeah.
Forgive me. It's the first word that came into my head. But as someone who's had anxiety and depression and challenging mental health for since my teenage years, the diagnosis in 2020 of ADHD answered an awful lot of questions for me. I remember coming out of the clinic in Harley Street in London, having got my diagnosis, I should say, and
Yep.
it was like a weight had lifted off my shoulders. I was like, okay, so this is starting to make sense. So I could look back at
a lot of
that.
questions.
It does, and it's still answering, even like 5 years later, it's still answering a lot of questions. But I could look back and not look back with regret.
Yep.
Because the past is the past and we can't change it,
Absolutely.
And through my mindfulness practice, it's all about trying to be here in the now and in the moment and not look back or not look forward. But no, the point I'm alluding to, forgive me, is it answered a lot of questions, and it ultimately it helped me to start working with my ADHD as opposed to against it.
Right.
So cue lots of, as you did by the sounds of it, lots of kind of Googling and just lots of reading, and that was a bookshelf up there, forgive me, but due to a move that's impending, that's come down. But lots of books on ADHD, lots of books on psychology, just trying to understand how, I guess, how to show up for myself, given the challenges that ADHD can bring to the individual. And it's unique to the individual, let's not forget as well. We're all unique as human beings.
Yep.
Plus,
True.
we have ADHD, as you and I. So that led, I'm waffling on, forgive me, that led to me reaching out to ADHD UK. I'd already had a trustee role with my local homeless shelter in Winchester, and I did some work for them voluntarily, as in ADHD UK, just to raise their profile. Small charity at the time, and then was invited to be a trustee. And then for the last 2.5 years, I've chaired the charity, and it's been the hardest thing I've ever done, biggest learning curve. But we've got to a point where we're pretty confident to say the leading ADHD charity in the UK in terms of impact, in terms of lobbying, in terms of research, in terms of data, in terms of support that we're providing for the community that we're serving. And it's been a fascinating journey.
That's amazing. I would unpack a lot from that journey, Neal. And thanks for sharing. I know it's something that I'm guessing you've been sharing, with folks around you, and you're a big champion and an advocate now. But I also understand that it's every time you go back to that moment of diagnosis and how you felt, it brings back a surge of emotions. It's hard to explain what those emotions are, but not good, bad, whatever. But you just, at least I experience a surge of emotions, and you having to do this again, I'm sure you are sort of experiencing a little bit of those emotions as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a surge of emotions, and when you look at a lot of the traits that come with having ADHD,
Yes.
A lot of people with ADHD that I know are highly empathetic, high on emotional intelligence, highly compassionate, don't like injustice, have rejection sensitivity dysphoria. That's something that comes along with it as well, along with anxiety and depression. But no, the emotional side is definitely something that's up there. And like I say, it's not about looking back. It's more around, okay, so this is how it challenges me on a day-to-day basis. So what can I do to ensure that I've got the right tools and the right mindset to be able to embrace what it brings.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that I've been getting more and more educated on, and sort of the embracing part, right? It's a very internal journey. Nobody sees that from the outside. You know what you are going through. But my question, as a follow-up question, and out of curiosity, to the extent you can share, because before I went into this experience of wanting to, I didn't even know that I was going to get diagnosed, right? I was doing therapy just after my career break. I had plenty of time, and I had just taken this intentional break to create some empty space and reflect and so forth. As a part of that, I wanted to understand a little bit of my life journey through the lens of therapy, and figure out what comes out of it. And one thing leads to the other, and of course, this diagnosis happens, which is I would be forever grateful that happened, right? I just shudder at the thought if it hadn't happened. And then, so my question is, what led you to getting diagnosed? I mean, was it again sort of some sort of a serendipity, or was it, to the extent you can share, and to the extent you're
No, I'm an open book. I'll share it all. Don't worry. It's I've no issues with that. So for me, as I kind of touched on, I saw my first psychiatrist when I was think I was about 18, in my late teens, due to not due to basically having no focus, having no direction, failing at school, being that, came out with very average grades, and failed a lot of that. Tried college, got asked to leave college, and then just had no real direction or get up. Anyway, long story short,
Yep.
my parents basically paid for me to go and see a psychiatrist, and that kind of really uncovered nothing. And then for me, I've always had challenging mental health from a depressive perspective, and it kind of came to a head in 2015, where I had, I guess, what I would class as a breakdown. Ultimately, my kids were young, and from the outside looking in, I had a beautiful partner who I'm no longer with, but she's the mother of my two children. We lived in a nice area, nice house, both had good jobs, healthy kids, etc., etc. But I'd find myself, the job I was in, I was the third highest performing consultant in a
In the executive
recruitment company.
industry.
In recruitment.
Yep.
Through about 120 employees globally. I had an okay money. Everything surface level
Was perfect.
based on what I guess we're conditioned to think is perfect.
Right.
Was perfect.
Yep.
But I find myself driving to work, and not every day, but sometimes crying in the car on the way to work for no apparent reason, just because I was just like,
wow.
And I remember having a breakdown in the kitchen with my partner and just saying, I give up. I have no clue what the hell's going on.
Wow.
But I feel just completely low. I feel empty. I have no feeling inside me. So I went to the doctors. Yeah, this was 2000. It was 2015, 2016. Went to my GP. They prescribed me sertraline, so an SSRI, and depression. So I thought, okay, these will work, and they kind of did. But for me, they didn't.
You
answer.
got medicated for depression?
Yeah, I got medicated for depression. Yeah, so I was
Gotcha.
taking a sertraline for about 4 years.
And that doctor never recommended for you to look into ADHD or anything like that, right?
No, at the time it wasn't. And it was only through watching a program on TV it was December 2019.
Yep.
Where there was a young lad on there with ADHD, and he was describing how it shows up for him. And I was like, oh, tick, tick,
no
tick,
way.
tick, 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 tick. And then from listening to his experience, I then got online, started Googling ADHD, looking at the symptoms, how it shows up. And yeah, I'm like, I bet you this is it. Because I was that hyperactive kid.
Yep.
He was an absolute nightmare. My mum took me to the doctors when I was about 4 or 5 to ask for, is there anything you can give him to calm him down?
Right.
Genuinely.
Right.
So yeah, I basically then went back to my GP, asked for an ADHD assessment. The wait times in the UK in a lot of regions through our NHS for ADHD assessments are a long time. So it can be 2, 5, 6, 7 years in some cases.
No kidding. 5, 6 years?
It can be, yeah.
Oh
in some regions in the NHS, it can be that long. So a lot of people are going private. So you've got a thing called the right to choose, where we can choose to go private. Anyway, I paid, went privately, and got my diagnosis. And it's been really eye-opening.
Yeah. I was thinking about that as well. How seemingly perfect surrounding, perfect life, you can still feel pretty overwhelmed and not know how to figure shit out, right? And like you're struggling inside just because there's just a swirling of stuff happening inside of you. You feel like you're not able to keep up. Um,
Yeah.
Add to that all the emotional reactivity to situations. I can totally relate to that, having gone through it myself. And um, yeah, that's I
I
can
think
totally see yourself being, having gone through that phase.
for me, one thing that I'm learning is, that you're kind of a product of your environment. I mean, that's, whether you have ADHD or not, let's be frank, we're all products of our
Sure.
environment, from upbringing to conditioning to one thing. There's a number of things that really help me and work for me, and that is just peace and calm and tranquility, and not trying to keep up with the pace of the world. Sorry, I don't know how much you got to, but I was just saying that for me, I've
So you're talking
noticed,
about tranquility is the word I
just
picked up.
change. Yeah, so that things that work for me and that give me peace and help me feel a bit calmer are,
Yeah.
I guess, things we sometimes take for granted, and that is just simplicity and tranquility and being in nature,
Yeah.
and slowing down and not trying to keep up with the pace of the world we live in, which is quite consumeristic, materialistic. I'm not going to go
Absolutely.
down that rabbit hole, forgive me, but I know it doesn't necessarily work for me personally. I don't have any problems with it, but it's more a case of just, I guess, having the authenticity and the confidence just to be me and do what
Yeah.
works for me, provided it's not causing others any harm. Um, and that's something I've started to embrace with purpose and without apology, because it's not causing. Well, I don't cause any people harm. I'm just doing and need to be, um, I guess, honest with myself around
Right.
what I need to be able to make sure this is as calm as it can be, and that I can show up as a dad, as a
Oh,
employee, as a friend,
yeah.
as a partner, and all the above.
Yeah. Absolutely. I hear you, and I echo these sentiments as well. And I'm learning to kind of tune myself out of a whole lot of this noise around me. Again, you and I relate on this whole materialism and uh, not wanting to move there, and spirituality and so forth. So I relate a lot to you. I'm just still tracing the journey, right, chronologically. And for our audience, right, one of the things that I'm struck by is in India, in this country, is sort of how nascent this conversation is. Um, how I believe that there's a lot of people who are probably a lot of men, mostly, who are probably struggling or have gone through journeys like myself, and they probably don't know enough to be able to take that next step, right? To go find a center, find an assessment methodology, and then kind of go get themselves diagnosed. So a quick, I know you're doing a lot of work in UK as well, trying to create awareness, build awareness. I'm pretty sure it's not a completely different story in the UK either. Like it's not like everybody gets it very, very intuitively. So what
Mm.
would be your advice or tips for anybody who's listening to this and who says, "Yeah, I feel that, or I felt that, and I struggle." What cues should they be looking for, and at what point should they be saying, "Okay, let me just get some diagnosis here in terms of where I might be in the spectrum," if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think, putting ADHD to one side, if people are out there that are challenged mentally, that are going through a challenging time, because I think, we're humans, aren't we? And I think we're all going to have a period in life at some point where where our mental health is going to be challenged, whether that's through bereavement, whether
Yep.
that's through relational challenges, whether that's through um, addictions, whether that's through work challenges, etc. I think regardless of being neurodivergent or not, it's
Yep.
something that in this world, sadly, we're all gonna have exposure to in one way, shape, or form, I believe. So I would say personally, being able to talk about it and be open with your feelings and be open with the challenges that you've got to someone that you can confide in, or even if it's a therapist or counselling. First and foremost, I think being able to share, having the confidence and the strength to share your challenges is really, really important. I find the more I suppress things, the worse my anxiety and my depression
Right.
the more challenging it will be for me. And it's only since I've
100%.
had the confidence to kind of not suppress it, bring it out to my therapist, to friends, and even at times to I'm very open with my employer, which really helps because I've got the confidence in my current line manager um, to be able to do that because he gets it, which is really refreshing, and it creates so much psychological safety for me. It's unreal.
Absolutely.
But from an ADHD perspective, there's so much online that you can look at, and some of it, I guess, we can get so much information and misinformation in the world we live in at the minute, can't we? So it would be, looking at, our website, ADHD UK. There's a lot of information and help on there. And there's a screening test you can take. Anyone can take it, globally. So you can go on there and there'll be a number of questions that will be asked, and it will give you your results at the end of it, whilst not a diagnosis officially, because that needs to be done via the clinical route through a clinician,
Oh, yeah.
quite
Clinical.
rightly, but
Okay.
it will give you an idea of whether there's a high chance that you may have ADHD.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So I
That you can
think,
do it
yeah,
in the
it would
in
be,
your ADHD UK website.
yeah, ADHD, literally adhduk.co.uk. That's obviously specific to ADHD, but that will give you some really good insights and some good data, but also the opportunity to, as I say, do the ADHD screener. But I think for me, just the main thing is ADHD or not, if you're suffering with mental health challenges, with, I don't mind sharing this, suicidal tendencies. That's something that comes up a lot for many people with ADHD. Not everyone, but
So,
there's a high occurrence, and I understand that because it's something I get challenged with myself,
sorry to hear that.
and have done for years and years. So I, I've learned how to deal with it when it comes up, and it's not all the time, but it can be just pops in the head out of nowhere, and you're like, why is that just come in my head? Okay, I need to deal
Yeah.
with this, and you can park it. Realize it's a thought. Don't create thinking around that thought. But as a
Yeah.
charity, we did we some of our biggest early donors were parents whose adult children, um, died by suicide,
Oh my
and they had
God.
ADHD.
Wow.
So we've done a study with the University of Glasgow, which was led by a gentleman called Professor Rory O'Connor. He's one of the global leading professors on suicide, and it was basically a link between ADHD and suicide. And that study found that one
Definitely.
in four women and girls with ADHD, and 1 in 10 men and boys with ADHD will attempt to take their own life at some point in their life. They're not all successful, thankfully, but they will attempt suicide.
Wow,
So when you
that's
look
pretty
at those
staggering.
statistics, it's pretty shocking. It is staggering. I
Yeah,
agree. It's quite worrying. And then when you look at the lack of information, because ADHD has only been recognised as a condition since, I should know this as chair of ADHD UK, forgive me, and it's on our website, but I'm pretty sure it's really 2000, early
yeah,
2000. So there's still not enough known about
that's right.
ADHD, especially when you compare it to something like autism. Um,
Right.
and that's what we're doing. We're just raising awareness. We're lobbying for support. We're lobbying for lots of change, and it's going to take
Yeah.
time. But there's positive signs out there and positive movements within the UK around what having ADHD means and the challenges that it can bring.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Very, very powerful. And yeah, thinking of some of the connections to even more, catastrophic outcomes like suicidal thoughts and attempts is only makes it such a real issue in the society and in the country. Now, turning back to your story, how did you? What were your thoughts when you got diagnosed? How did you share? I know your kids were relatively younger; they're a little bit older now. What was your sort of reaction on how do I share this with my children, and how do I go on from there? What did you do as a dad to talk about this with your
Yeah,
children?
I remember. I remember telling friends that have known me for a long time, and they were like, "Well, it's the world's worst kept secret. Of course, you've got ADHD. As in they've known me since I've been so small, very hectic,
Yeah,
hyperactive. But that's now the hyperactivity is kind of no longer there as such. It does have glimpses of it, but no, I've been very open and honest with my children
yeah,
for as long as though I felt that they're probably old enough to understand. It's only probably been within the last, bearing in mind they're 18 and 16, the last few years.
so they're like
But
13 and like 10, something like that,
I would
right?
say probably 13 and 15. Yeah, no, probably like 13 and 15 is roughly when I would have started opening up to them about
Got it.
um, my mental health in terms of the ADHD, and just trying to educate them without projecting. Um,
Sure.
but I think one of the biggest things for me as a father has been learning and knowing when to say sorry to them if I react or if I behave in a way um, which isn't right. And I
Yeah.
say that when I'm in a depressive mood and my energy levels are low, and I'm having challenges just kind of, I guess, turning up, it's easier to snap, or it's easier to
Snap.
not
Yeah.
focus on them. It's easier to
I
not
was
provide them
just
what they
going to say that.
need. Um,
Yeah.
I think for me, I've sat down with them a number of times and said, "Look, I'm really sorry with how I reacted to said incident. Um, you know, sometimes my energy levels aren't quite where they are. The ADHD means I need to kind of
Fill your cup.
sometimes think before I speak. So I think, forgive me. I think I was just saying it's having, for me, it's as a father, but especially as someone that has ADHD, which brings benefits and challenges. Um, it's just being open with my children and letting them know if I have spoken out of turn or reacted to something um, that's been very much in the moment, and kind of not thinking before I speak, perhaps. And this isn't so much anymore. This is more in the early days of my diagnosis.
Sure. Sure.
Um, it was letting them know that I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have spoken. I shouldn't have reacted like that. I should have paused, breathed, reflected, um, and it could be little things like if one of them broke a glass or something. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like, well, hang on a minute.
Right.
Have
Right.
they done that on purpose? Have
Yeah.
they done that on purpose? No. So why tell them off for doing something they've not done on purpose?
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I
Um,
totally relate. I absolutely relate to that. I snap like that, and I don't know if you probably know it for sure in terms of how the arc of your temperament moves through the day. Like I start with very, very calm temperament, very much in control, centered, and then start my day. And I feel like I'm feeling the right energy. I mean, it happens to everyone, but I guess for us who have this condition, you get filled up pretty fast, right, with all the information. And usually towards the evening, if I haven't taken a break or haven't done anything physically, I'm usually snappy, right? And at times, like my son will come back, like after playing, and if like the shoes are muddy, whatever, I notice something which is uh, not okay by my standards.
mm,
I'll snap, and he will not know what hit him, right? Because it's very unusual. And then again, I realized that, oh no, this was me, not him. I was kind of spilling out because I'm completely filled up and I do not have any juice left, or filled up or empty, however you look at it, overwhelmed with information or empty on calmness. Um, and then it was me. So usually I find it happening towards the latter part of the day, in the evenings.
no, I get it. And I think one thing that I've learned, I guess more so now because I can reflect and look back because my children are 18 and 16 and I don't see them as much anymore through personal circumstances as much because I'm
Yep.
no longer with their mum. But they have their own lives, now
Yeah.
because they're starting
Yeah.
to forge their own lives. They've both just finished their A levels and their GCSEs respectively. One's going travelling, one's going on to further education. Um, and I went away with them. I think I mentioned to you
Yeah.
when we last spoke to Spain, to Mallorca a few weeks ago, and it was like three lads, three mates going away, and it was brilliant. It was really, really good fun. No arguments, no one having to go at each other, and I was so proud that we were able to um, spend that time together um, with
That's
no
beautiful.
set agendas. We were all just basically laughing every day and having a really wholesome time. And I was filled, without sounding all too, deep and philosophical, I was filled with gratitude
Yep. Yep.
that
No, I
that
feel that.
that we were able to do that.
Yeah.
But I do also, especially because I'm moving house, so I'm finding lots of old pictures and photos of them when they were younger, and when they needed me. I'm not saying they don't need me now, but they need me for
In
different
a different
reasons.
way. Yeah.
Normally,
Yeah.
money and lips
Yeah.
and
No.
holidays.
Yeah.
But I do miss them. If I could go back and spend another day with them when they were 4, 5, or 6.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love that
Yeah.
because it's
No,
just
I
a
hear you.
gorgeous age.
I hear you.
But
As much as you
it's
feel you would have felt very overwhelmed even back then, now you know how precious those days were, right? This sort of the innocence
oh,
of those days, the spontaneity, and just free flowing
massive,
connection. Yeah.
massively. And I wear my emotions, on my sleeve. So every time we speak, we tell each other we love each other. So if I'm on the phone to them having a chat, we'll always sign off with "I love you, mate," and he's like, "Love you too, Dad." and they both reciprocate, and that's like
Yep.
amazing. And I think it's, I'm open with my emotions with them in the right way, in terms of showing empathy, showing kindness, and especially, I guess, questioning them on how they measure success.
Right.
Because at their age, at the minute, I'm seeing it, and it's they're measuring success by money, by lifestyle,
Yep.
by
That's
having,
tough.
because money brings choices,
Yep.
and I'm trying to question them or plant in their mind, well, actually, have you thought about success looking like the impact you have on other people,
Yep.
the impact you have on a community, on a society, and what you can give back? Which, yeah, I don't think that's fully. I don't think they fully kind of, they're on board with that
Yep.
as such, but they are good kids, and they are very empathetic. And if when we were on holiday, classic example, round by the pool, there was a family next to us on one sun lounger, four of them on one sun lounger, because most of them were taken. And my son actually said, because we had three, because there were three of us, and
Yep.
my son said, "Shall we give them one of our sun loungers, because we're in
Oh,
we're in the pool, we're in the sea, and we can just share?" And I'm like, "Oh, mate, that's what a lovely thought. Great idea. Let's do it." But that was him that drove
beautiful.
it.
That's amazing.
And it's just things like that, and it's little proud moments when you're thinking, yeah, like it,
Yeah.
not thinking of yourself, thinking of others.
Yeah. You know what? I was listening to someone named Arthur Brooks. He's a professor in Harvard, and I just picked up one of his pieces of statistics. He's doing a lot of research on happiness and so forth. Guess what? In all the courses that Harvard Business School offers, and think of a business school like Harvard, his class, which is called the happiness course, is the most subscribed class in the entire business school. That tells you
Wow.
something about how little that we talk about or we find it around us. That in the number one business school in the world, the most attended class by business school students is a course on happiness. Anyways, the point he was making is, it's something that even we've been hearing from generations, that your kids actually just do what they become, what they see you do, right? They don't do what you tell them to do, which is kind of an age old maxim, but it couldn't be truer. So I think in your case, I can totally tell,
Mm.
knowing you a little bit, how much you are doing for the community, for neurodiversity. I'm sure it's rubbing off in many major ways with your boys.
It's, it's an interesting one, because and we've not touched on, well, you kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier, but um, they've seen a big shift in me and a big change in me
Mm,
since my diagnosis, because I'm not the person I was before.
you are, yep, you were, yep,
And part of that was my decision to stop drinking alcohol when I was post diagnosis. So I did that for three years. I didn't touch a
I was
drop.
going to, yeah, go there. Or thanks for that. Thanks for segueing into that topic. That was another thing that I wanted to be able to talk to you. But yeah, please continue.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, because they saw dad before drinking beer,
yeah,
and getting drunk and being silly, and
yeah.
with being silly, some of that would be silly behaviour. Absolutely. So they've seen a change in me, to the point where my eldest has mentioned, you've changed a lot, um, based on who I used to be and who he saw ultimately growing up for the best part of 13
His
years of
growing
his
up years.
life,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
was a dad that would like to go to the pub, like to drink beer, still obviously there for my kids, absolutely. Um, but what I realized with my ADHD diagnosis is ADHD and alcohol aren't a good combination. Um, with alcohol being a depressant as well, obviously it just
absolutely.
heightens
Yeah,
it heightens those challenges and the anxiety and the how you feel. Make make no bones about it. I love having a couple of beers with my mates and being silly, but it's more the aftermath that I couldn't deal with or that I found really challenging. I have got to a point after 3 years where I've started dipping in, dipping out, so I can have a couple of beers and leave it at that on an occasion. But I don't drink in the house, and it's only if I'm out and I feel that, yeah, okay, I could have a couple of beers now. So it's been an eye opener, but it's fascinating that my children have seen the changes in me as a result of not being that person, and what the diagnosis and stopping drinking has done for me is really allowed me to go inward as well,
Yes.
to
Yes.
try and truly understand who I am, without trying to sound too deep, but um,
No, I totally hear you.
accepting, and there's a level of acceptance, but also a level of learning. There's quite a lot of sorrow, shame, guilt, and shame, which is another recurrent incidence of having ADHD. We can have that. It's quite common.
Yep.
But my wellness, my spiritual practices, we've noted, with my daily meditation and my yoga that I'm really, really into, that really helps ground me. It really, really does. And it's something that I do daily. So it will be a morning practice at around 6 o'clock in the morning, which will be for an hour. And that will involve breath work, meditation, and a yoga flow. Then I'll go out for a walk in nature with my dogs. So by 8:30, 9 o'clock, I've had 2.5 hours of just getting ready for the day.
Yes.
And for me, it's not everyone. For me, it works. For me, I see the value in it. I appreciate it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I've only seen benefit in it and the consistency of doing it. Like everything,
Yep. Yep.
if you're consistent in it, then you'll get stronger with it, whatever it is you're doing.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that connection between ADHD and alcohol, because that's one of the other topics that I want to spotlight today. Knowing that's another thing that we commonly share, because exactly around the same time last year, um, when you and I had connected, I'm not sure if I had already quit alcohol or I was about to, but I've had my own struggles with alcohol throughout my entire life. I've had many, like you say, you start by enjoying a couple of beers, then it goes on to you becoming the life of the party. You look forward to going out there, and people love you for who you are, what you become after a few drinks, and then your identity slowly shifts to becoming that person. And before you realize, uh, you start to also pay the price of that relationship, right? And I struggled that throughout my life with that, but and I've tried my own tools of cutting down, slowing down, not drinking in the weekdays, all kinds of stuff. And keep in mind this condition that I had, which I was unaware of, like you, and I would never be able to, in spite of all my attempts, avoid having those incidences where you lost control. Now I know better, because ADHD actually drives that. It accelerates your impulse, right? And if you already are struggling with impulse control, alcohol just puts fuel on it, right? On that. Now I know, but I not knowing, I would always be feeling that whole cycle of shame and guilt. Here I go again, and I did this again, and so forth. The cycle continued. And after this diagnosis, actually opened my eyes to the correlation, the connection between alcohol and ADHD, and I was finally able to put this two and two together and say goodbye. And speaking of your relationship with your kids, how your kids saw you, same story with me. My kids have seen me have fun, a lot of fun with my friends in parties. They've seen me as the same, the dad who loves beers. He's a happy guy. He gets happier when he has a few beers. And then that was continuing. But they also seen the dark side of that, right? At times when I would not be proud of my behavior in public or at home. And now with these two collisions of ADHD and alcohol discovery, going alcohol free, have gone on this journey of meditation, looking inward, reflection, and they clearly see the change. Like they're a little younger, so I still take them to bed for bedtime, and we talk about this at times, not every night. Every now and then this topic comes up, and they tell me, "Daddy, you have changed a lot. We love the way you are now, and please stay the way you are now."
More patience, more presence,
Sorry?
more patience and more presence in terms of what
Yeah,
you're
more
bringing.
presence, less outbursts, less anger, less snappiness, understanding, and less arguments. Like you said, rejection, RSD, rejection sensitivity dysphoria, all of that, is gone. I mean, it's not gone fully, but they see me a lot more composed and anchored and present, like you said. And I would have this any day over the so-called happy, fun days.
No, that's refreshing. It's great to hear. It's lovely to hear. And it's when you strip it all back, that's how it should be, isn't it?
Yes,
I
absolutely.
think the alcohol for me personally, started drinking when I was 13, 14, amongst
Same.
other things.
Same.
And I was using it, and I can see now I was using it to help calm the mind,
Right.
you know, because alcohol does relax you, doesn't it? Let's be frank. In the
Yep.
moment, it relaxes you, but for me, it's the impact, the negative impact it has. As I said earlier, once the following day or days, depending on how much I drank. But in the moment, it would allow me to forget my challenges, thoughts in my head, struggles of kind of fitting in or not being able to necessarily join in the conversation because I wasn't really knowing how to join in certain conversations in groups of friends when we're out at a pub. So for me, it would all be about just get really drunk.
Yep. That's it.
That'll be fun.
The easiest path is
Um,
the easiest path to kind of fit in and be a part of the group.
it is, but it's fascinating how taking that out of your lifestyle or not wanting to be in those environments anymore has limited my ability to socialize with
Yes.
my friend group.
Right. Yep.
And I'm taking nothing away from them because I've got some really good friends who do drink and do like a drink, and they're still good friends. Absolutely. They don't force me to drink. They accept, whether I turn up and I have a few beers that day or whether I have lime and sodas. They don't pass comment. They don't pass judgment. But it's more me, as in, do you know what? I'm not going to go out tonight because I'd love to see them, but I don't want to be around that because I want to feel good tomorrow and do what I want to do. And also, I know it will probably cause me a bit of anxiety,
Right.
um, a few days later, and impact my mood.
Yep.
And I'm realizing that, we're only here for a certain amount of time. I don't want to waste it feeling hungover, anxious. For someone that is challenged with anxiety and depression, does it make any sense fueling that even more with a substance?
Absolutely
It
not.
doesn't.
Yep. Yep. Totally.
But I'm not perfect. No one's perfect, but I'm getting better. I'm
No,
definitely
I hear the struggle, and I've been going through my own struggle of losing my social connections, and I've felt the difference. It's particularly in the I just completed a year of going alcohol free, which is probably the best
brilliant.
year on that front. But it hasn't come without a lot of challenges, like you say. Your social life completely flips because the world hasn't changed along with you. The world's still the same. You still have your own good friends, and they're good friends, like you said. But when you walk into that setup, one thing has changed, that is you're not drinking. So this from just practical stuff, like what do you talk about and how do you assimilate into that setting, and from that to an hour later, when you start to not being able to tap into the flow of the conversation because you're not moving along with that, um, has created some vacuum in life for sure. And
Mm.
I don't have the answers to how uh, to normalize that. Of course, I feel a lot more comfortable now with a fresh lime and tonic. That's my go-to drink now, and it works really beautifully. And or an alcohol-free beer. I'm much more normalized now on assimilating into social settings or leaving a little bit early when things start to get take off in in other direction. But that problem is real, and what definitely helps me is an anchoring of the fall. Thinking about the next day morning, the morning after waking up with a fresh, clear mind, going back to your meditation. Looking at nature. I kind of and honestly, I think about the way the coffee will taste the next morning. It's beautiful. And then
Mm.
sort of I
Yeah.
re-anchor myself with those thoughts, and now it's much more better. But in the initial days, it was hard. I won't say, I won't lie, it was hard.
I think I found as well, there were certain friends who, without alcohol, we struggled for conversation.
Absolutely.
If that makes sense. It's
Yes.
almost like, well,
Hundred percent.
I only really want to go out with you for drinking. They didn't they didn't say it as bluntly as that, but you could kind of tell. It's like if I see them out and about on a dog walk or something like that in the morning, you'd notice that there'd be a bit of chat and stuff, but with a few beers, I think that was the common
Everything
the,
seems
the
very
common the link. I was saying alcohol with some friends was the link, and without it, there's no real commonality around outlook on life, how we want to live life, and you know, having things in common um, as such. Um, that's only some, but it's been fascinating. But I think it's certainly enabled me to show up better as a dad for sure,
yep.
and own a lot of truth as well. It's given me the
Right.
confidence to
Yep.
not
The
suppress and
integrity.
to kind
Yep.
of own a lot of truths about myself, but also towards just how I'm living life and what's what's right for me, or what at least I feel I need to live an authentic, simple life. I'm still
Yeah.
finding my way. I'm nowhere near having it all sussed,
Yeah.
but um,
Yeah.
it's been
Yeah.
an interesting journey, but one I wouldn't change.
Yeah. Same. I know we are. I mean, we could talk about this for a long time. I know being mindful of your day. We probably you're just starting your day, or
I'm,
into your first early morning. I would love to dig into your, the tools that you use to manage, sort of embrace your ADHD, and also, I know you, you sort of, you're, you're not fully in that sober phase, but you're still in a pretty contained mode on alcohol. What are the resources and
Mm.
tools you're using to live your life as who you are, as a professional, as an individual, but also more importantly, as a dad? For this is for all those dads who may understand that these things are coming in the way, but they don't know what tools can they use.
Yeah, it's a good question, and I think what works for me doesn't mean it's going to work for others. It's finding, it's playing around and understand, trying new methods and new ways of living your life. Excuse me, and hopefully in time you'll come to understand that works, that doesn't. I think a lot of introspection for me, as I said, since diagnosis, a lot of educating myself. So lots of reading,
Hmm.
and reading books on ADHD, reading books on mental health, reading books on psychology, and reading books on wellness, reading books on sobriety, um, and taking what works from all of those books. For me personally, um, the lifestyle changes that I've kind of alluded to, my morning routine and structure is really important. So ensuring that I wake up, ensuring that I do my morning practice of breath work and meditation, and get some nature, but also exercise is really good as well, for everyone,
Yes.
of course. But from a dopamine perspective, for those with ADHD, exercise is definitely it's proven to help in that regard.
Yeah, I found
Diet
that
for me
experience
is,
as well.
I have a healthy, yeah, I make sure I have a healthy diet, eat lots of protein, lots of whole foods, um, and I think one of the biggest things for me has been finding people like yourself, to be honest with you, that I can have open, honest conversations with,
Right.
knowing that it's in confidence, knowing it's a safe place, um, to surrounding yourself with like-minded people, and
Mm.
also people that you can look up to, people that you can learn from, people that you admire, and you think, yeah, okay, I need a bit of that. Um,
Mm.
and for me, as I say, it's been lots of pockets of work that I've done to ensure that I've got that. And I've still not got it sussed. Don't get me wrong. I still have a very small, I would say a handful of really close friends, literally a handful,
Right.
and that's okay because it's quality over quantity.
Yep.
Um, but I think there's lots of things out there that people can try, that they can look into. I would ultimately encourage people to go inward to understand what it is that they really love and what it is that really brings them joy, um, and then ask what's stopping you from getting that. No, I was going to say a lot of the time that can, I think from my own perspective and from my own journey, going inward and understanding what it is I think I need and what's going to work for me and stuff has meant making some life changing decisions. Um, and that's been really challenging, having been 2 years into a separation now, separation of my partner of 20 years, which you obviously, I've shared this with you anyway, but um, realizing that through no fault of anyone's, it was just, there were certain changes that I needed to make. But that means
Yep.
going through a bit of pain. But I think in
Yep.
order to grow in whatever it is we do, we've got to face our truths. We've got to, it's like going to the gym, isn't it? You've probably heard this analogy many times, but if you go to the gym once are you going to see much change? If you go to the gym consistently, put your body through a bit of strain, bit of pain, or your ache and stuff,
Pain,
but
yeah,
if you're consistent with it, you show up, you're going to feel the difference and see the difference. There's a quote here that I've stolen, and forgive me, I don't know who said this, but I did read it in a book. But it's the magic we're looking for is in the work we're avoiding, and that's something that's really stuck with me. So it's a case of not avoiding that, and it's realizing that if I'm telling myself I don't want to do it, then there's probably a high chance that it's something I should explore and
should be
look
doing.
at. Whether
Right.
that's educating myself, whether that's
Yeah.
doing some upskilling, some
Yeah.
evening courses on coaching and whatever, as opposed to just steady state. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong
Yes.
with steady state, by the way, at all. I admire it, but I've got a bit of a growth mindset, and it's only since my diagnosis and my going inward that's enabled me to actually start to embrace that growth mindset and start to not fear failure, but
Yep.
actually look at it as, well, if I fail, then I
As an
learn. It's
opportunity
the
to
best
learn.
way of learning, isn't it?
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
And I've fed that, and it's interesting because I've fed that down to my children, and they've seen me doing this. And it's actually my son, my 18-year-old. He's been really encouraged and encouraging me to to try these new things,
That's
which has been
amazing.
really quite it has been amazing. It's been quite the amount I've learned from my children. You could look at it as a bit ironic, couldn't you? But a bit of irony. Surely your children should learn from you, but it's like when I'm learning from them, the strength and the they've
Yeah.
that
It's,
they've shown.
it's a
And
circle of life, at some point you start to look,
yeah.
to the next generation and try to learn from them. And I love it, actually. I don't have any qualms about it.
No, I'm the same. I'm really excited for them, actually, for what the future holds for them. Um,
Absolutely.
and encouraging them to live each moment and just try not to, whilst planning is good, if plans don't go according to plan, then
Right.
don't be don't worry about that, and just dust yourself off, get up and go again and learn.
That's right. That's right. Yep. Well, thanks for sharing. I also wanted to ask you another question on um, alcohol, right? Um, I don't know if you tried quitting before you finally quit in 21. I did. God knows I did. Tried many times and I just couldn't do it, right? I would have many, many rational ways of justifying, managing, and only to realize that I'm back on it again. And I had a huge fear, and I didn't know I couldn't really quite understand what that fear was. I just knew that I couldn't live without alcohol, right? The thought of not having a beer forever for the rest of your life was just not something that I could fathom. I could not get past that thought. I'm pretty sure there's a lot. I mean, I talk to a lot of friends, and a lot of them have that same question. They are not able to see past that huge, swath of life ahead, and the idea that I won't ever have a glass of beer, right, or whatever it's that you like, and that's what's holding them back. Even they are very familiar with the struggle, the pain, and the challenges that alcohol brings, but I think they're not. It's not enough to push them over that big chasm, if you will. What would be your advice, or what would be a sort of a practical tip, or any other tip for those people, men, women, to even get a start on that and even take a bite out of that fear, and experience
Yeah.
what it feels, and then make the right decision.
Yeah, it's a great point. And I think when you look at something like alcohol and we strip it all back,
Yeah.
from my own perspective, it's something I was brought up with. I was brought around. I used to pour my dad's beer when I was like knee high to a grasshopper. I used to light my mum's cigarettes.
Yeah.
I used to find that really exciting. But I was a child born in the 70s. So, I'm not saying it's right, but
Yeah.
obviously we've evolved now. But, alcohol is addictive. If you've been conditioned and it's been part of your environment for 20, 30, 40 years, it is going to be hard to stop.
Right.
It's having the realization. So I've been trying to stop since my mental health breakdown in 2015. So I'd do pockets of 3 months with no booze and then get back on it. Pockets of 1 month with no booze and then get back on it. My personal advice would be not to set yourself a limit. As in, I'm never going to drink again. It would be try a week or try tapering down. Try right, okay, to start with, I'm not going to have any alcohol in the house. So I'm not going to drink at home. I'm only going to drink when I go away or go out, so what have you. Unless you're out 7 days a week, obviously that's not going to work. But if you put pressure on yourself, okay, classic case. So when I stopped in 2021, it was the 1st of January 2021. I got so drunk on New Year's Eve. I woke up feeling absolutely horrendous. I said, I'm going to do dry January.
Yep.
I didn't say to myself, I'm never drinking again.
Yep.
I said, I'm going to do dry January. Did dry January. Felt good. Had lost weight.
Slept better.
Just felt better. Yeah, felt better within myself. So I said, I'm not going to drink for the rest of February. Did that. And it's finding other things as well. And it's to kind of take your mind off of it and understanding. For me, the witching hour was probably between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m.
Right.
If I could get to 7 p.m. having not had a drink, I'm like, I'm home and dry for the day. Brilliant. Because I'm like, 7 p.m. No, I don't want a beer now. I'm chilled. I've had my dinner. I'm relaxed. I'm doing whatever. Yeah. So for me, it was that witching hour, 4 to 7. What can you do within that time? Go to the gym.
Very good.
Or
Very good.
Take the dogs out for a walk, or whatever it is that you think you might be of interest to you as an individual from a hobby perspective or whatever. So did February, and then thought, I'm going to do March. And March would be 3 months, 90 days. Did March, and I felt so good. I'd lost a lot of weight. And then from there, I was like, right, I've just done 3 months. And yeah, it was hard, but I've done 3 months and I'm feeling the benefit. I'm going to go for 6 months. So I'd gone from trying a month to month to thinking I'm going to do another 3 months now. Yes. And it was after that, it was the 6 months point, I think, from memory that made me actually really think, wow, I feel really good. And I was still going out, I was still in a relationship at the time with my ex-partner. I was still going out, to events and stuff. And I was proudly not having a beer and just having either a non-alcoholic beer or a soft drink. But I would take myself away, so if it got to the point in the night where everyone's on a different planet, I'd be like, right, it's my turn to go. I'll go home. When I look at the benefits of the clarity it gave me mentally, I lost about 3 stone in weight. I was showing up better as a father.
Sorry, can you explain 3 stones? What does stone mean for our audience?
3 stone. So sorry, 3 stone is what's that in kilograms? Are you kilograms or pounds?
Kilograms.
Okay, so 3 stone in kilograms. I should know this. Forgive me. I am cheating now.
No.
So it's about 19 kilograms.
Oh wow, that's a massive.
Did you catch that?
Loss. 19 kilos, almost 20. Yep. Yeah, that's
Yeah, and
huge.
it was through not drinking beer. It was through not drinking beer, therefore so obviously that in itself is highly calorific. Not making bad food choices and having the energy and being present enough
Yep.
to do exercise, as opposed to being
Exercise,
lethargic
yes.
and
Yeah. It all adds up
lazy.
in a good way.
So I think it was a combination of all of, yeah, all adds up. I think it's not rocket science, but it's not easy, and it's
Right.
having the knowledge that if it was easy, then we'd all be doing it. But if you haven't got to work hard for something, is it worth having? You know,
Yeah.
and it's been an interesting journey. But I would encourage people to, if they are thinking about it, get some books. You know, get some books on giving up alcohol. There's quite a few out there that are really good, which were on this shelf behind me before my impending move.
Yeah.
Forgive me.
I've seen that. I've
Uh,
seen that in the past.
Al- Al- Alcohol Explained. There's a lady called Annie Grace. 1 Year No Beer is a platform that helps. But it's
In fact,
just
I had actually seen
consuming.
you on the 1 year no beer podcast, Neil. Now I remember.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Listening to podcasts, great point. Listening to podcasts, people
Yeah.
that Rich Roll is a podcast. He's a guy in the
Ritual
States
is very
called
good.
Rich Roll. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's brilliant,
Yeah.
and he has some fascinating people on there around health, sobriety, growth,
Yeah.
addiction. He covers a
Mental
really
health.
wide sphere.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all around wellness and
Yeah.
just trying to be the better version of who you are. So it's just consuming the right things. Well, and the most important thing is not beating yourself up
If you slip one.
if you
Yeah.
if you slip.
That's right.
Don't beat yourself up and
Yeah.
just think, well, hang on a minute. I've drank alcohol today. That's the first time I've drank alcohol for 2 weeks, and I was drinking every day.
Right.
Or it's the first time I've drank alcohol for, you know, 3 months, and I was drinking every weekend before. Just being kind to yourself and just appreciating that it's.
Yeah. I'll tell you. We were in Spain. I told you, right? Before you guys went to Mallorca, we were on a family trip, and Spain, right? It's great wine, some good beers. We met some friends, and here I am, kind of on the brink of my 1 year alcohol-free journey. Uh, in August, which this month I completed 1 year, and this was in July. So first one day, right, and one of the things that me and my wife loved doing when we lived in California was to go wine tasting. And we were in Spain in the Costa Brava region, and there's some amazing wineries there. Um, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to get really hung up about my alcohol-free journey. I'm going to have go for a wine tasting with my wife, and for good old time's sake, for great memories. And it was beautiful. It was a lovely sunny afternoon, quintessential wine tasting. Rustic setting. You're tasting a couple of good, Pinot Noirs, whatever they did, and it
Mm.
felt beautiful. We sent kids out to walk in the vineyard, and we were just two of us together. It was amazing. Next night, we're sitting by the water, lovely sunset, great seafood. Again, felt like having a glass of red, right? 2 nights in a row, and then all my demons started coming back. Like, hang on, am I slipping back now? Is it over? Right. Next morning, I woke up and I'm like, okay, I had a great 2 nights, but what is going on? And that's when the point you made now, that don't beat yourself up. You just have to kind of put it in perspective what you just did and get back on your life, because that beating up can actually set you back, and it
Yeah,
kind
okay.
of bring back the demons, and you can bring back your old identity. At least that's how I felt. The moment I became relaxed about it, it was fine, and I didn't have any struggles, and life moved on. So thanks for bringing that up to the point of
No, it's so true. And do you know what? Sometimes I liken it, and I ask myself, well, if I ate a chocolate bar every day, you know, what's the difference between? And I'm not a scientist, so I don't know the difference on my body to eating a chocolate bar every day or a pint of beer every day. The
yeah,
point I'm making, chocolate's got loads of sugar.
yeah,
It's not. And this is something I love chocolate. I
right,
bloody love chocolate. So it's almost like, well, do you know what? I was never a daily drinker, so I wouldn't drink every single day. I wasn't an alcoholic in that respect. I was what my counsellor called a functioning
yep,
alcoholic.
yep,
And then he explained what a functioning alcoholic was. And I'm like, that's most people I know.
right,
Um, doesn't make it right, but it's all down to the individual, And for me personally, like I say, I thought it was best that I try and change my relationship with alcohol. And having 3 years of complete sobriety really, really
yeah,
helped. I'm still unsure whether dipping in and out is the right thing. I'm just taking one step at a
you're
time
experimenting, yeah,
and not beating myself up.
yeah,
If I have 3 beers one night for the first time in 3 weeks,
yeah.
you know,
It's not going to make or
um,
break anything.
it's not. It's
Yeah,
not. It's 3 beers a day or 3 coffee. Caffeine, coffee. I was having loads when I stopped drinking
yeah.
alcohol. I was having loads of coffee instead
Right, me too.
because I'm almost like
Yep,
trying to replace it.
yeah,
And then I'm like, but you know what? Too many of these after a certain time
are probably not good.
isn't good either.
Yeah,
So it's finding that balance, but what works for you,
yeah,
because we are all unique. We all have our own unique biology, our own unique DNA, and it's as opposed to following what others do. Yes, for me, taking a lot of upskilling, a lot of knowledge, a lot of learning from other people, and then trying to put what works for me into my life
yeah,
is what I've found, or what I'm finding um, quite an interesting but fun journey.
yeah, yeah. No, that's well put. Thanks for sharing. I'm pretty sure it's useful for a lot of our listeners and audience who are looking to get some tips. And it's not easy, like you said. We'll wrap up with this question, Neil. It's been a fascinating conversation, and of course, I we have a lot to talk about. And I'm hoping that you'll be okay to come back again to go deep into any of these topics because there's still a lot to talk about, particularly in the context of India, right? Of the pioneering work, of the really impactful work that you're doing, particularly in the ADHD space in the UK, to parents, how they're parenting, because there's a lot of implications on children, the next generation, right? There's just second, third degree implications of the work that you're doing, and I would love to have you back sometime later. But at this point
Mhm.
in today's conversation, let's end by you sharing some thoughts on the journey that you've had so far, and how do you see yourself in the future as a dad, as a professional, as an advocate for social change, um, with your current pursuits and the way you are sort of building your life now. I know it's a loaded question, but I thought we'll.
No, it's a great question, and it's very apt actually for where I am in life right now, because that's exactly what I'm working on. All of those things
Mm,
around how do I show up for as a dad now, given my son's about to go traveling,
yep,
well, skiing 6 months in another country. Um, so how do I show up for him? Um, my youngest is starting college and will be living between his mum and I. So we're entering a new phase of our life, all of us now, based on what we've known for the last, for them, 18 and 16 years, for myself and my ex-partner, the last 20 years, is that's all changing. So I'm having to adapt my own parenting to ensure that they know I'm here for them regardless on a daily basis. So I touch base with
Yeah.
them daily if I'm not under the same roof as them, if it's not my week with them. But I also know that actually maybe stepping back because they've got their own lives, so just as long as they know that I am always here when they need anything. I'm
Yeah.
always here for a chat. I'm always here to give them some guidance if they need guidance. Not that it's for me to tell them what to do, it's for them to work out. And if it means they fall down and they've got to dust themselves back off, then that's okay, because that's how we learn, as we said earlier.
Yep.
For me, it's really important, I think, to show up as my authentic self and to really make sure that the work I do, whether that's as a dad, whether that's in my paid profession, whether that's with my charity or hat on or my coaching hat on, is that it's giving value to people and that I'm doing the right thing. Even if doing the right thing doesn't always mean it's what's best for me, or that I will get, what's the word I'm looking for, Sub? It's if doing the right thing doesn't always necessarily mean it's going to benefit me in the material sense or in a
Yep.
monetary sense or whatever.
Good.
It's doing the right thing, whether that's by the client, whether that's to my children, whether that's towards the mother of my children, whether that's to the community, and really caring about the impacts that I have on other people and society by doing the right thing, and appreciating that, trying to be in the present moment, trying to be in the now, because that's all we've ever got.
Yep. Absolutely.
We create our future in the now, in what we do right now.
That's right. And that's the only place where we have the hardest time to be in, right? Either we are flipping into the future or ruminating about the past. The present is where the hardest place to be, which is the most important place to be.
It is, which is shocking when you think about it.
Yeah.
But that's the world that we've created, that not we've created, but that we live in.
We live in, yeah.
When it comes to, you look at what's going on in the world as well at the moment, and it's really, I find it really challenging and really sad and really heartbreaking in many areas.
Yep.
And for me, just trying to stay in the moment, do the best I can. When I make mistakes, learn from that. I just remember to just be kind and just be the best version of yourself you can be, and be kind to yourself or to myself, when I do find days challenging to show up.
Yep.
For whatever reasons they may be, and just not get carried away with the thoughts, and don't turn those thoughts into thinking.
That's
and
right.
Just acknowledge, that's not me. Just, it's a really good question, but I think it's really, really apt for where I am in life right now, with everything that's kind of been going on for me. And it is, I think that the key thing for me is just learning to be present.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I'm not present all the time, by the way, but it's learning. It's reminding myself, just calm down.
Just be.
All you've got is now. And
just remember to remember.
Yeah, but getting into environments, like I said earlier, just nature for me, and I'm fortunate where I am at the moment that I've got it on my doorstep, is if I need to go and just decompress and ground myself and get into a forest, get into the countryside, I can do that within 5 minutes of walking from my house.
Wow, you're lucky.
And where there's no one, so there's no people, so I can just be literally just no noise apart from nature, apart from the birds, apart from the wind and the breeze and all of that. And that does, for me personally, just helps. Just, what have I got to worry about?
Yeah, and fill yourself with gratitude too, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. There's a lot of that.
Thank you. Well, couldn't have um, put in any better ways. Totally resonates with me. I think it all comes down to just two words: be present. And that's kind of where I am as well. And I absolutely connect with what you're saying. Neil, thank you for your
So
generosity
great to see you.
and sharing a lot of difficult things with so much honesty and vulnerability. And thank you for the work that you're doing. Um, I know you must be getting told by others, but I'm also telling you that it's creating a lot of impact. I only know, being involved in the space, how much impact it can create in many degrees, second degree, third degree implications. So more power to your work, your mission, your pursuits, and your journey to be a better dad and a better man, better partner, better social, citizen of the society. And I'm rooting for you.
Cheers, Seb. Likewise, really appreciate that. And it's appreciate the invite. And next time, if you want me back, maybe I'll come to India.
I was going to say that I know that it's somewhere in your horizon, so I will
That
make
was
sure.
the plan. The plan is, yeah. The plan is yeah. I think I need to just decompress with what's got the next 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah,
I think the next few months will be interesting for the right reasons for me, where I can just ground myself and getting into my new environment and breathe and just try right. Yeah,
yeah.
but no, India is certainly somewhere that I'll be coming to in the very near future.
I'll be looking forward to meeting you in person. But again,
Yeah, it'd be
we
great.
will be in touch. I'll be keeping up with your journey and love to stay connected. Keep doing what you're doing.
Absolutely. Likewise. Cheers, Sub.
Thank you, Neil. Have a good Friday and a good weekend.
And you.